Hey guys, what's going on? I'm doing another Royal Rumble review. Since we're heading into the Royal Rumble pay-per-view. And today I'm going to talk about the Royal Rumble 2010. Yes, I know Brian Zane talked about this Rumble yesterday. But I actually had just finished watching this Rumble, like I think a couple days before he uploaded this review, and I had actually no idea this review was going to be. I'm normally kind of on top of his like what he's going to review for his classic reviews, but I missed this one. So, but my opinions on this are probably mostly the same. But if you want to stick around, let's get on to the matches of this. And for the record, I don't know about how 2010 WWE was because I actually only started watching wrestling in late 2010. I want to say it was after bragging rights because this is when Kane. Because I remember the first segment I watched was when Kane had the funeral for The Undertaker, and then Alberto Del Rio came out and said he wanted to challenge for the World Heavyweight Championship. Kane yelled at him. Del Rio beat him up. Ray came out, and then Kane beat them both up, and then Edge speared Kane. That's what I remember from my first SmackDown. So that's probably it. So we had a 10 Diva tag match actually on the pre-show, which I did not know. The Bella Twins, Eve Torres, Gail Kim, Kelly Kelly defeating Alicia Fox, Jillian Hall, Katie Lee Burchell, Maurice, and Natalia. 10 Diva tag action. It was on the pre-show. Or actually, no, it wasn't even on the pre-show. It was a dark match. Okay. So the first match of the night is Christian defending his ECW championship against Ezekiel Jackson. Now, Christian has been kind of like one of the few highlights of ECW on Sci-Fi. Like, the show wasn't terrible, but them calling it ECW and it being kind of just like a third WWE brand, I think kind of soured a lot of fans. But Christian, like, getting kind of this opportunity to like have a show all to himself that he can be the main event of, I think was great. And Christian really showed what he was made of here, I think. And Ezekiel Jackson was, I think, somebody they thought of as a prospect, given how he was like kind of pushed in ECW and how they pushed him in WWE early on. Like I remember in SmackDown when he was a member of the Core, like he body slammed the Big Show. Ezekiel Jackson body slammed the Big Show, and I thought that was really cool. And then they made him the IC champion. I think he had one of the worst reigns of all time, but that's a discussion for another time. This match I thought was really good. My one problem with it was probably that William Regal being at ringside ultimately really did nothing because he was kind of eliminated early on when he was trying to throw Christian back into the ring. Now, Brian Zane did say in his video that he thinks that William Regal, like leaving, kind of got rid of the heat for Ezekiel Jackson, and I could kind of see where he was coming from. The crowd was quiet for Jackson. I don't think they weren't completely silent. Like I remember distinctly hearing some boos for him, especially when he was on offense, like later on in the match. But I can kind of see where he's coming from, but Regal didn't really add anything to the match itself. But I thought it was a really good big man versus Lola man match. Christian was really good here, and Jackson actually held his own. Like I was kind of surprised, like how, and he was like all pumped up and energetic. And he was like yelling at the crowd. That was like, where was that Ezekiel Jackson? Like after he broke up with the Core, like that, I would have wanted to watch that Ezekiel Jackson. Um, but anyway, Christian was able to win with the kill switch, and oh, almost forgot to mention the commentary. The commentary is Michael Cole, Jerry Lawler, and Matt Stryker. Now, I'm normally a fan of Matt Stryker. I think he's doing good in TNA now. I always liked him in WWE, and I liked him in Lucha Underground. I never liked the Cole and Lawler pairing, and then with Matt Stryker was like it wasn't horrible, but like I feel like Stryker was brought down to like Jerry's level, of which at this point he was just there to commentate and not really add anything. So that was my thing on it, because I remember this funny moment where like Matt Stryker was like talking about how Vince McMahon won the WWE ECW championship here in, I think it was Atlanta. Yeah, it's in Atlanta where this pay-per-view took place. And Michael Cole actually briefly said like, "Oh yeah, thanks, I was trying to forget," which I thought was pretty funny. So yeah, a really good match to start off the show, even though ECW was on death's door, and Ezekiel Jackson would become the final ECW champion anyway. So why not just crown him here at this if you were really that high on him? Up next, The Miz, and an impromptu U.S. title match defense against MVP. I think this was after like The Miz came into Tay Long's office and just started bragging. I kind of skipped a lot of the backstage stuff because I knew it wasn't really that important. So The Miz and MVP had a good match. It was good. It wasn't amazing or anything, but it was a good match. Miz, this was when Miz was really coming into his own as a wrestler, not only as a wrestler but as a character. And like I think he and MVP had a really good feud going on. And MVP, I always thought was an underrated guy. Like he's doing well now with like the Hurt Business, but like I always thought like I think now that he could have been a world champion. It's a shame he never got to that part, but at least he has some good shit going on in WWE. So Miz was able to win after MVP followed Miz back into the ring after a chase, and Miz was like immediately able to roll him up with a small package to win. But their feud's not over as MVP hit him with the playmaker, and we'll come back to them later. Next is Sheamus versus Randy Orton. Now, I did say I skipped some of the backstage segments, but some of the ones I remember were like the ones with Legacy and Orton, where basically Cody was trying to say Ted was going to screw Orton, and that Ted was saying Cody was going to screw Orton, and then Orton was just saying, I don't need your guys' help. I can beat Sheamus on my own. And boy, Sheamus is WWE champion. That was a push to the moon if I ever saw one. Now I like Sheamus. I think he was good then. I think he's good now. And as a champion, I thought he was good. Like, was he an amazing champion at that time? No. Like, I think his world heavyweight title reign in 2012 was much better, but he wasn't bad at all. And he was able to hold his own against like some of the higher ups in the WWE. But speaking of this match, not that great. It wasn't horrible or anything, but it was kind of boring, very slow. And it just wasn't my cup of tea, honestly. Like the crowd was really into Orton though. Like even though I think he was still a heel at this point, I mean he was straddling that line, but I think he was still a heel at this point. But the crowd was really behind him. And the match ended when Cody like attacked Sheamus and sent him into the ring, but the ref saw it and disqualified Orton. So Sheamus got the victory. So the ending saw like Cody trying to apologize to Orton, and after a bit too long with the pantomiming, Orton just beat the shit out of Cody, and Teddy tries to come in or Ted DiBiase tries to come in and tries to tell Orton to stop what he's doing, but Orton just beats him up instead. But then when Orton gets up, like Sheamus bro kicks him right in the face. So Sheamus does stand tall after this, which I thought was kind of nice. Match was boring. It's good to see Sheamus on top, and a nice kind of story progression for DiBiase, Cody, and Orton. Next was Mickie James versus Michelle McCool for the women's championship. And now people will always bring up the Mickie James thing. I'm not really going to get into a debate here about whether or not it was a good thing or not. The Brian Zane's video has that if you want to hear it. Was it bad? Well, if apparently according to Brian Zane also, like the women involved didn't like it at all. And it was kind of stupid because Mickie James was a very attractive woman. Like she still is, but like even then she wasn't fat. Like I get in one instance they're like Michelle and Layla are just trying to portray these dumb valley girls where they think like everyone with the slightest bit of belly or slightest bit of meat on their bones is fat. I get that, but it's kind of weird that they just really egged it on, and like Matt Stryker was like kind of in favor of it for some reason. Like I don't know why he was humoring this idea. Like if all the announcers were like just calling them out on this bullshit, like that would have been one thing. But Matt Stryker was just like, that's one thing I hated about Matt Stryker on this show. Like he was kind of in the corner, Michelle McCool. So this match basically, it's Mickie James. Layla comes out in a fat suit with a plumber's crack showing, and she twerks. Very weird visual. But then Mickie James comes out, tackles Layla down to the mat, beats Michelle McCool with the Mickey DDT, and wins in 20 seconds. Then afterwards, she and a bunch of the other face divas throw a giant cake into Michelle and Layla's faces, which was a really feel-good moment for the pay-per-view. Now, it wasn't a match, but it was a very feel-good moment for Mickie James after being bullied all this time. She finally got the big win. But it wouldn't really matter in the long run, because Mickie James basically lost the title back to Michelle McCool, like I think a week or two later, because of Vicky's interference. So that whole thing was completely pointless. I mean, it was a good moment for Mickie James, but too bad it was completely undone by that. Next up is my pick for match of the night. It's The Undertaker versus Rey Mysterio. It's another big man, little man match, but I think this one's like it's different because Rey Mysterio is a lot more high flying, and The Undertaker, he's the veteran here. So like they're both kind of evenly matched, which is I thought was surprising. Like Rey actually got a good amount of offense in on The Undertaker, even knocking him down with an acai moonsault. What was even more surprising to me was like Taker won with the last ride. Like I know that was one of his finishers, but I would have expected more like the Tombstone or the Choke Slam or the Hell's Gate. The last ride was an interesting choice, but I don't have much to say other than that it was a very good match. It was the best of the night, and SmackDown Undertaker is top Undertaker for me in terms of in-ring stuff, and Rey Mysterio is awesome. Now the main event is the Royal Rumble. You can notice how short it is. It's only 49 minutes long, which is very odd for a Royal Rumble. There's a couple things I want to talk about with this. CM Punk came out at number 3, and every time he would eliminate somebody where he had the ring to himself, he would cut a promo. And he was a good promo, and I liked it. It's kind of fitting with Punk's kind of Messiah character going on at the time. And Shawn Michaels had the most eliminations. Punk had the second most eliminations of the Rumble. Beth Phoenix eliminated the Great Khali, faking from a kiss, and Beth Phoenix became the first woman to enter the men's Royal Rumble. Actually, the first. No, she was the second. Because I think China did. And it also one of the things I like about this Rumble is it also continued some ongoing storylines, like the Miz and MVP. MVP came out at number 14, but Miz attacked him. And then like when Miz came in like a couple slots later, MVP came back and eliminated both him and the Miz, and they both had a brawl to kind of continue their U.S. title feud. Shawn Michaels was in this match, and the big story of this was like he was trying to get a match with The Undertaker because The Undertaker had flat out said the only way you're getting a match with me is if you win the Royal Rumble and fight me for the World Heavyweight Championship. The R-Truth eliminating the Big Show and Mark Henry was a cool moment. And Edge returning and eliminating Jericho and Cena to win the Rumble, which was amazing. Kind of a cool shock win, because I'm not sure like what the buzz was around that time. I'm pretty sure like some dirt sheets tried to spoil it, but it was cool to see this guy come back and win the Royal Rumble. I did read in Jericho's book that the original plans for Edge was to make him like the face of SmackDown, like have the World Heavyweight Championship, like be this fighting champion, etc. But for some reason those plans were nixed, and Jericho ended up winning at WrestleMania. Interesting choice, and also there's one thing I do want to mention. It's very weird. This Rumble's short, and like there's only 7 superstars that last in this Rumble longer than 10 minutes. Those people are CM Punk, Triple H, Drew McIntyre, Ted DiBiase, John Morrison, Shawn Michaels, and John Cena. Edge only was in the Rumble for like 7 minutes, 7.5 minutes. And it's kind of weird that only 7 of these people lasted longer than like 10 minutes. Like everyone else lasted either less than 5, like lasted a little over 5 minutes, like a little less than 10 minutes, or like 5 minutes, or like less, like in a few seconds. Like it's very weird. It's probably why this Rumble's so short. Like, I don't know why it's so short. Like, you could have had at least a couple of these people stay longer. Like, I don't know who specifically, but you could have maybe like Yoshitatsu, considering he would win that Battle Royal at WrestleMania 26. Kofi Kingston could have stayed a bit longer. R-Truth, especially after those big eliminations he got. I don't know, somebody could have stayed longer. But it was an entertaining Rumble overall. Very fast paced, never really got old, and I liked it. So overall, I would give this pay-per-view a B+. The only match I really would skip would be the Sheamus and Randy Orton match, but I think every other match delivered. Mickie James beating the Bullies was a good moment. The Royal Rumble was entertaining with the right winner. Undertaker and Rey Mysterio had Undertaker and Christian had entertaining world title matches, and The Miz and MVP took that 7 minutes and 30 seconds and gave us a good match. So overall, a good pay-per-view. If you have the time, I would recommend it. Now, if you like this video, please be sure to like, comment, share the video, and subscribe it, as I'm trying to hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of the month. So I'll see you all next time, and until then, stay beautiful, because I most certainly am not going to do that for you.